Well, hello there and welcome back to a brand new video where today's video is very exciting because today is the day, ladies and gentlemen, we talk about the brand new patch update for Rugby Challenge 4. Yes, that's right, we are talking about Rugby Challenge 4. It's definitely been a minute since I've A, posted anything about Rugby Challenge and B, posted any gameplay, but today's video is us talking about the latest patch update, and this patch update is huge. It's probably one of their biggest patch updates. I don't know if it's their final patch update because very similar to Rugby 20, we had patch after patch after patch, and then that was pretty much it. Rugby Challenge 4, we've kind of seen maybe 2-3 patches. This is definitely one of the biggest patches because it's very long. I'm scrolling. There's just so much to talk about. And pretty much, I'll probably be going over the majority of it. I will leave a link down below if you do want to check out in full. But today, we're going to be talking about the UI. So there's plenty of changes to the UI, so the user interface. There's one change about the fan hub. There's a lot of changes about gameplay, which includes stamina changes and fullback changes. There's a few changes regarding graphics. There's also some online updates. And then there's updates for Steam, Switch, Xbox, PS4 and general. So we'll probably go over the console side of things. Switch and PC we probably won't go over, but general and all the other bits and bobs we will definitely will. So to begin with, let's talk about, I've got to scroll up quite a bit because it's quite a big patch update, let's begin with the UI. So they've removed the team select option from the pause menu in BIA Pro. The injury slider will hide if injuries are turned off in the options screen. Failing to create a sevens team will no longer break team linking. The second half shouldn't begin with a line out call in the HUD. Extra time will clearly show when it has started. Okay, that's good to know. Text entry areas in multiple screens will not break controllers if they don't focus correctly. What? Has that happened to anyone? Text entry areas in multiple screens will not break controllers? What do you mean, like the controller doesn't work anymore? Like, physically, like obviously physically it can't stop working, but maybe Rugby Challenge 4 just goes like, yeah, your controller's kind of like bricked in a way. I don't know. Let me know. That's curious. That's curious. I'm very curious to find that out. Moving on, we got some camera options were misnamed or pointing in the wrong option. Okay, that's been updated. They removed the possibility of accidentally making a woman's 15 team. What, is it not possible to make a women's 15s team? Is it only possible to make a women's 7? I think that's right. I think you can only make women's 7s. I mean, let me know, confirm with me, but they've now removed the possibility of accidentally making a women's 15 team. Maybe, when I say accidentally, maybe you couldn't do it, but apparently you were able to. I mean, that sounds like, rather than a bug, maybe just make it as a thing, maybe? I don't know, but, that sounds like, if it is accidental and people are doing it, then maybe there is an urge or a request from fans and players and gamers to kind of like maybe introduce that feature. I don't know. Let me know. I don't really play too much of the women's side of things in Rugby Challenge, but I definitely know there's Women's Rugby 7. They've also created an in-game footedness. Footedness will match every time. What does footedness mean? Created an in-game footedness. I'm gonna search Google because what is footedness? I mean, I bet some of you are going, Matt, I can't believe you don't know that. I learned that when I was in year 9 at school. So it says here, footedness is a natural preference of one left or right foot. Oh, your preferred foot. Oh, okay. Interesting. It says here, starting a tutorial in the pre-game field won't confuse the loading spinner. Localization fixes and translation improvements. DRM errors fix. Desync pop-up. Here's another word. Baser is formatted correctly in multiple screens. Once again, our good friend Google. What does this mean? Mate, Bazers, or the word they've used, is a commune in France. So like a city in France? I don't really know. Maybe the text was like not formatted correctly? Who knows? Pro goals will display in the correct language at all times. Pro goals will also use all correct characters in non-English languages. They've updated the credits, so maybe someone's either left the company or joined. More than likely, someone's joined. You wouldn't really, even if someone's left the company, you know, it would be a bit harsh to remove them from the credits because essentially they did help out with the game. What else have they said? They've said here they've removed a possible crash in the drafting screen. The loading screen will now inform you when your saves are being updated. The career setup screen now makes it clear you can scroll through the options. Newly created players will have their commentary name set correctly instead of just using position by default. Old Sideline Camera has been added back into the game as an option. Oh, so if you want to play on the sideline, that camera option is back. Maybe that was like a Rugby Challenge free thing, maybe? I don't know, but it looks like the old Sideline Camera has been added back into the game as an option. Maybe it was removed and now they thought, you know what, let's add it back in. They've also said trying to enter a custom name. What's this? Trying to enter a custom content screen. So players, teams, kits, or comp. While you have no custom content, will give you a pop-up rather than an empty screen. Those same custom screens as well as the fan hub will now give you an indication of how many items you've downloaded. I can't speak. It will now give you, there we go. I still can't say it. They will now give you an indication of how many items you've downloaded, saved, and how much space you have left. They've also fixed an intermittent NMA when being promoted to a kicker or a captain at the end of the game. So those were the UI changes. Looking at some of them, I'm excited for the camera, the side camera. And but if any of these have kind of fixed any of your issues, please let me know in the comments below. The fan hub, I know that's kind of like one of the main selling points or one of the most popular features in a Rugby Challenge game. They've now made it more clear in what category you're out of space when trying to download new players or teams. Awesome. So now moving on to gameplay. Now gameplay is a big section here. So to begin with some stamina changes. So these came about due to community feedback that substitutes were no longer occurring on the AI teams or on the opposing teams or the opposition, as players were no longer getting tired and needing a break. Right. Okay, so you're playing a match and the computer is like, nah, none of the players need a break, you know, we're all good. So apparently that is now being fixed, or they've fixed it in a way because there's some updates here which kind of like makes the stamina being used, or you use more energy, so therefore the AI has to take a break. So it says here that tackles, Matt. Tackles use stamina relative to the player's strength. Right, so I guess if the player's really strong, then the stamina might be used less, but if you're weaker and you're committing yourself more to that challenge, obviously, so therefore, you know, it's a lot harder on you, so therefore you burn more energy. That kind of makes it more like realistic. Running causes stamina loss proportional to the match length. Okay, so based on the time. Okay, so if you maybe if you select say 5 minutes and a half or 6 minutes and a half, the stamina will change, or the occurrence of how much energy you use will vary on the match length. That's interesting. Increased stamina loss in a sprint. Oh, I love having the stamina. Right, who doesn't? I mean, I know they're trying to make it more realistic, but they've said here that so you will lose more stamina when you do a sprint. They've reduced the stamina They've reduced the stamina regeneration, so you're not going to regen your stamina as fast or as much even. They've improved stamina usage for your pro player. That's a positive. They've what have they done here? They fend is now relative to the difference in strength and break tackle ability between the offensive and defensive player. They've increased the scrum push strength to account for the They've increased the scrum push strength to account for the shortened scrums. There we go. I got there in the end, didn't I? They've also made sure that you can see the results of the Euro Cup if you play in the Premiership, French Division 1, or Elite 14. So pretty much the last bits I was talking about, those were all the stamina changes. We're now moving on to the, the non-stamina changes, you could say. More focus on the gameplay. So, like I mentioned, obviously, you can now see results of the Euro Cup if you play in various leagues, which is interesting. They've squashed a crash bug at the end of Season 2 in career mode. Set plays and send runner calls will no longer conflict with each other. Hard and Pro AI will not be quite so godlike in scrums. Okay, so maybe it's a little bit easier now on the scrums. Being injured or on international duty will not contribute to your pro player being fired from their club for poor performance or a lack of attendance. Oh, do you remember? Like, we definitely need to bring back the Be a Pro series, but what's funny here is if you get injured on international, right, that this update now prevents you from being sacked or fired, which is, I do find that very interesting. Very, very interesting. I guess you could say sacked, fired is the same thing, but no, for lack of poor performances or a lack of attendance. Sorry, mate, I'm injured. Well, because you're injured, mate, you're going to get the sack. I mean, that would be outrageous. I'd take them to a tribunal. Is that the word? When you fight against your case? But anyway, moving on after us having a little bit of a giggle there, and I've lost my place. The patch notes are so long, I've lost where Oh, here we go. I'm back. I found myself. I found where we were. So ensured that skipped animation frames will not impact controller responsiveness. Okay. The training field will use the vibration settings from the option screens correctly. So maybe you're getting more vibration? I have no idea, but that has now been fixed. Okay. If that was an issue for you, that has now been fixed. Okay. Are you happy now that has been fixed? So just to reiterate, because I know this is probably a big thing for you guys, that ensure that skipped animation frames will no longer impact the controller responsiveness, okay? The training field will use vibrations. I think I've already said it. I think my joke was more about this one. The training field will use the vibration settings from the option screen correctly. So yeah, I guess bad joke on me, but I read the wrong line there. But anyway, moving on. Pro stats won't. What's this? Pro stats won't all tend towards 60 over the course of a career. Okay. Stopped players from cloning themselves in international competitions. I mean, sometimes I would like to clone myself. It'd make my life a lot easier. I'm sure some people would hate it seeing two mats around because I love talking. It'd be just double the fun. Well, in their case, double the chaos. But moving on, some loose ball passes would cause players not to be able to pick up the ball. They've been drilled on correct gameplay, and this shouldn't be an issue any longer. But number 8 can't summon the ball back to him after it's already been passed. Okay, maximum turn angle and turn speed of mauls has been reduced. Now moving on to fullback changes. Fullbacks will move into the correct position when your team loses possessions. Run more directly at the player with the ball. The fullback won't run away from the player if they make a line break. Wingers are now in support lines with a fullback for extra cover, and they've removed random retirement in Be a Pro. Random retirement, like my guys is like, I just can't be bothered anymore. I'm 17, 18, trying my best, having a bit of fun here, and you know what? I'm just going to retire. But anyway, if your pro was retiring or planning to retire, they've now fixed that. So, yeah. Sorry, mate, if you were planning on retire, this new patch update prevents you from retiring in random events. So I imagine when he hits a certain age, he will retire, but that has now been fixed. So now we start moving on to some of the smaller sections, you could say. We're now moving on to the graphics. So the animation rate has been adjusted, players off the ball in order to improve performance. Right, so the animation basically of players when they're off the ball, basically they've reduced kind of the quality of those players in a way, so therefore the overall performance is better, because it kind of makes sense, right? Like if they're in the background doing nothing, if we can reduce them just a little bit to improve the overall performance, I'm all down for that. They've updated Eden Park's daytime lighting. They fixed up a black line appearing in the Toronto Stadium. They've updated back numbers, Causeway Bay Stadium sponsors updated. They've improved the face rendering to account for memory usage. Fixed sock colors as several... Oh, okay, so if you've got custom teams, they've now fixed the socks colors. And finally, they've also fixed the graphical issue that could happen on some stadiums that made areas darker then they should be. So yeah, if it was dark in one area, it wasn't due to the sun. Apparently, the stadium was making it darker for some reason, so that has now been fixed. Moving on to online, so I know a lot of you guys are, big fans of... Oh dear, oh dear. I don't think I could ever be a news presenter. I'd be like, I don't think I could be too professional on a news show of some sort. And I'm not the best at reading. I think I brought this up before. Like, I am dyslexic, so reading words isn't my strong point. But anyway, we'll joke about it and move on. So online, what I was trying to say is a lot of you guys play online, and some of the forums I'm in, a lot of people say who? Say who? No, they don't say who. They basically go, hi guys, anyone want to play some games? So they've actually they've said that major stability improvements. Inactive players will be warned after 3 minutes in quick matches or 2 minutes in ranked matches. That's a big feature, because there was always like 1 or 2 people on the forums where this guy or this person would never ever leave, and they wanted you to leave, so therefore you would forfeit. So for some reason, I think you can get a forfeit if you're kind of like in a game, but you haven't even started the game, you're still like in the training area, and you leave, that counts as a loss. So inactive players now will kind of like be warned, which is a good thing. Lobbies will unready if the game's gender is changed for a sevens match, okay? So you can't have men's versus women's. Leaving a lobby before it's finished loading will no longer break the training field's controls, okay? Line out and kicking minigames have been improved to deal with the latency issues on poorer connections. The lobby will use the correct player modes for women's sevens teams. Teams won't revert to Australia or New Zealand when a player joins the lobby. They've reduced the required network traffic for online input. Dropping out and rejoining a lobby will stop giving you an incorrect color on the field. They fixed an issue where the game would NMA after the client leaves lobbies multiple times. Added more textures to be streaming, which improves loading time. Okay, so that's online. There's a few things for Steam. They've basically said like they've updated the controller handling, some of the graphics, and a few other bits and bobs. So if you are a big fan of playing on the Steam, like I said, I will leave a link down below in the description. Check it out, and there's a bunch of stuff there. There's also some big updates for the Switch and for the Xbox and PS4. So on the Xbox, they fixed issues with bizarre numbers appearing on the leaderboard. They've also removed a debug text issue. They've also fixed an issue where the save game information would show up as corrupted text. On the PS4, they have they've done what, Matt? What have they done on the PS4? They have fixed a crash that could occur at the final result screen in multiplayer, and they've also fixed an issue where if a client rejoined, they were unable to change teams. Right, last but not least, we are getting there. We're now going to talk about the general improvements, okay? So improvements to multi-thread handling, memory leak hunting, and killing. Apparently that's been fixed. Wise One's achievement was unlocking in a manner not matching the description. Live is no longer considered a profanity in any languages. Updated the career analysis or analytics process to be more stable. Autosave options added to career modes. That's really good. Scrums 1 will track correctly again. Resetting teams in the edit. In the edit team screen will no longer break anymore. Improved VoIP volume, so therefore you should now be able to hear other players now. They've also updated the VoIP speaker, so it's actually a speaker instead of implying, telepathically. That's what I'm trying to say. They fixed an issue where the player was told that they were what? They fixed an issue where the player was told they performed poorly for your club. Okay, so that was a similar patch to so if you were playing international duty or you were injured playing for your pro club, they've now fixed the issue that you will no longer be performing you'll no longer be getting told that you are playing poorly. They've improved connection quality, reduced the chance of dropouts, disconnects, and desync. They've fixed controller disconnect issues that could create crashes or NMAs in some areas. Added more online error messages, make it more clear what type of issue actually occurred. That's always helpful. They fixed an issue where there are multiple players on one team. In certain scenarios, a player could lose control. Okay, like they're driving and they lose control. I don't know. And they fixed an issue with players getting stuck in the wrong animation in the mall tutorial. Okay, I can now have and breathe, Matt. I mean, that was a big boy patch indeed. A very big patch update. And shout out to Wicked Games. Wicked Games, is it called Wicked Game? Wicked Witch. Wicked Witch? Wicked Witch. Wicked Witch? Wicked Games. Yeah? Wicked Witch, that is it. Would be called Wicked Games. So yeah, Wicked Witch. Shout out to them. Shout out to Rugby Challenge for once again bringing out a huge patch update. It's very big indeed. And yeah, Rugby Challenge content will be coming to the channel very, very soon. But if you have enjoyed today's video, then be sure to massive thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, comment thoughts regarding this. But anyway, you guys have a wonderful day, and as always, in my next video, adios, chaps. Boom.